So, in Bhagavad Gita, the first six chapters, Krishna explains about various topics about, about karma yoga and about uh, and dhyana yoga, ashtanga yoga, and also gnana yoga. He explains about many things. mm, And after sixth, from the seventh chapter onwards, he deals with some intimate topics. Means about explaining about bhakti yoga. uh. So actually, the essence of Bhagavad Gita is to prove that how devotion to Krishna is the ultimate thing that we have to we can achieve in as a in order to establish a relationship with Krishna. Okay, and the seventh chapter it gives about knowledge about absolute, like hearing about Krishna's material and spiritual energies. He just gives little bit of introduction about his energies. It can be explained like if somebody comes to our home, mm, like for suppose some neighbor is there and he recently moved to our our neighborhood or beside our home, and first day he comes, and he'll say we'll ask you how are you, like that, and then we'll explain ourselves and we'll inquire about him. And we now in first few days this only superficial things will go on, means like unless we get nice friendship with him, and unless we know much about him, we don't consider him so close to us, and we don't disclose about anything which is more confidential with them. We will be like with strangers we will be as much as limited talk. Okay, but if a friend of us comes, if a friend uh, of whom we met in at from the childhood, whom we know, that kind of friend, we will actually invite him, he will inside, and then we'll explain about we'll talk to them with more intimately, and also we share about many things, about which most of the which we don't share with most of the outsiders. mm. Like we'll be like sharing intimate experiences, and how how you are doing, how you are maintaining family, and what are the what gives more pleasure, like like that, like go we went some excursion or something like that, something pleasurable, or you can go along with them some trips like that. And if somebody who is very much closer to you, just like is your own brother, or or sister, or somebody like that comes, or like a close relative like mother or father, they comes, then they for them we give full access to all our things. Means they can come into our home, they can even come into our bedrooms, and also they can also they'll open and see whatever positions we have, know how much cash we have, what are the ornaments we have, golden ornaments, like jewelries are there. So I'm just giving you the example how the intimacy makes difference. Okay, so in if you see the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita also, Krishna has maintained such kind of Krishna has maintained such kind of sh- friendship with Arjuna, and gradually from the beginning when Arjuna accepted Krishna as Guru, he initially instructs him all the knowledge of karma, all the knowledge of no, jnana, all the knowledge of yoga, but he was not much of it. He does not want Arjuna to stop there. No, he wants to Arjuna to have something more. So he explains about himself, because Krishna is Adi Purusha. Krishna is uh, like Asamordva, means there is nobody equal to Krishna and nobody higher than Krishna. There is nobody. He is the original creator. Means there is nobody higher than him. There is nobody above Krishna. Hmm? So and there is nobody who can know better than Krishna himself. Mm. So, and only person who can say more clearly, more elaborately about Krishna is Krishna himself, because nobody knows Krishna better than him. Because, like as we told with our relative, we can only show all the valuable things that we have and say their values and how they are very precious, how much they cost, like that. Mm. But for somebody who is unknown, who is a stranger, we don't disclose all those things. So in the same way, when Krishna started giving this knowledge of bhakti, which is very dear to Krishna, Krishna is called Bhakta Vatsala, or Krishna is called Bhrutya Vatsala. Means he is the dear, he is very much favorable to bhaktas or his servants. So when he started giving the knowledge of bhakti, from the chapter 7 to 12, he mentions many intimate things about him, which helps us to remember Krishna more and more, to to have a nice attitude towards Krishna, like that. So to develop, what is the best way to develop a nice relationship with a person who is most powerful and most influential and most, and there is like a supreme of, he is the ultimate, uh, ultimate of authority of everybody. What is the best and easiest way of developing that relationship is to become a devotee, or is to become a friend, in a favorable way. That way we can easily, uh, please Krishna, and then we can easily get establish a relationship with Krishna. So when Krishna gave the knowledge of absolute in the 7th chapter, mm, then he explains how one can achieve him. mm, like he explains little, some kind of information in the 7th chapter, and in the 8th chapter he says, okay, uh, and then I am the ultimate, and how can you achieve my? That he is explains in the 8th chapter, like how one has to remember him, and how remembering Krishna at the time of death, one can easily go back to him. And then, in order to further uh, help Arjuna, Krishna gives again the about his knowledge. About in the 9th chapter, he gives the most confidential knowledge. Means this is the knowledge of bhakti. Hmm? Because why Krishna is saying most confidential? Because these most confidentials are shared with only with the dearest persons. Hmm? So telling about himself, no, because nothing is more valuable than Krishna himself, no, right? Like Krishna is ultimate. Krishna can give anything to anybody, and Krishna is the proprietor of everything. He is full in opulence, in all full of all opulences. He is he owns entire creation, and he is the maintainer. He is the he has unlimited wealth, unlimited name, unlimited fame, unlimited beauty, unlimited knowledge, and he is also unlimitedly renunciate, means unlimited vairagya. mm. So he is not attached to anything. So he is the most valuable thing, means the most conventional thing, most conventional uh, knowledge. This is the knowing about Krishna is about the most confidential knowledge. So this knowledge of that is the knowledge of pure bhakti. How we can achieve that ultimate Krishna is by pure bhakti. Mm. So now Krishna explains about his further. Krishna further instructs how one can fix his one's mind upon Krishna. Mm. Because why we are doing all these things, why we have to know so much about Krishna, is so that we can be able to think of Krishna. We can be able to correlate everything in our life, in our uh, uh, day-to-day life with Krishna. How, and also remember Krishna at all the time. That's why we remain Krishna conscious. By remember Krishna, and by dovetailing all our activities in Krishna service, we remember Krishna. By remember Krishna, we attain the bhakti towards, we our love towards Krishna increase more and more. Mm. And when we remember Krishna in the same way at the time of death, we will go back to Krishna and live, and that is the eternal, what you call, best thing that we can get in the human form of life. So in this chapter, Krishna uh, explains about further more about his vibhutis. Vibhutis means the opulences. So and the one more thing is, in this chapter we have Chatushloki Bhagavatam. Chatushloki Bhagavatam means the entire Srimad Bhagavatam, uh, can be the summary of entire Srimad Bhagavad Gita can be uh, obtained by just by reading these four slokas. And there is a Chatushloki Bhagavatam also. No, four slokas. If you read that four slokas of Bhagavatam in a precise manner, they will give the entire message of Srimad Bhagavatam in four slokas. In the same way, entire message of Bhagavad Gita can be given in four slokas of Bhagavad Gita. It is uh, 10.8 to 10.11. These are Chatushloki Bhagavad Gita. Okay, so that this 10th the if you see the words of the last chapter, it is the which says no, manmanabha madbhakto madhya jimam namaskuru mam evaishyasi yukta evam atmanam matparayana. So this word is the central, means is the like ninth chapter last verse, verse number 9.34. This verse is the center of Bhagavad Gita, and this verse says the ultimate thing that we have to perform, or we can do. No? What we have to do is to attain the ultimate goal of our human life is always think of Krishna. Hmm? Be Krishna says, always think of me, be my devotee, worship me, and offer obeisances unto me. You will surely come to me, having observed yourselves completely in me and taking my shelter. So that is the message of Bhagavad Gita. The so in order to do that, in order to see, in order to help us to do that, unless we know the like if you want to think about one person, or if you want to always remember that person, means we have to have a favorable disposition, or there should be a way. Like the more we know about a person, then the more we remember him, and it will be more easy for us to develop a relationship with him, right? Mm? Like if a boy and girl meets, or in a like for a what you call wedding engagement. Mm? Now when they first see themselves, boy and girl sees, they will only have little bit of impression, means okay, this boy is okay, looking nice, this girl is looking nice, like that. Mm? But when they glorify, when they tell about that boy or girl, the qualities, how nice qualities he have, how much he is educated, how much his behavior, uh, if we know about their qualities and their nature, then our tendency to remember, our tendency to to have a favorable disposition to that person increases. Either it may be in the side of boy or girl. I'm just giving that example because it is more relevant. Because if you see our parents, we'll have our parents from right over from the beginning of our lives. No, if you have our friends will, no, even with respect to our friends also, when when we meet a person, when we meet our friend, on the first day we'll only have certain impression. But as we continue our friendship, we see more and more good qualities in them. Our friendship towards them will increase more and more, and we'll appreciate them, and we like to be in their association. Mm. The same way, when we know more and more about Krishna, when we hear more and more stories about Krishna, when we the glories of Krishna, our our aspiration to become Krishna conscious will increase. There is a nice pastime in Srimad Bhagavatam. Like Krishna was Krishna has, according to Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna has 16,108 wives. Okay, in the it is in Dwapara, right? So he has 16,108 wives. So it is said that none of the wives Krishna wanted them, like Krishna wanted to, no, Krishna went for any no, to marry her, marry them. Mm. It was that ladies, that Matajis, who actually become a devotee of Krishna. They did great tapasya. They worshipped Krishna. They sent message to Krishna to protect them or to, to marry them, like that. So it is, Krishna is mostly Krishna is only controlled by his devotees. So it is said in Srimad Bhagavatam, even though this uh, these princesses, no, uh, every one of them are very beautiful, no, and they are almost they are like goddesses of fortune, everybody of them, and none of their beauties were able to attract Krishna except their bhakti. He was only attracted by their bhakti. So why I'm saying this? Because if you take the uh, first the wife of Krishna, she's Rukmini Devi. Hmm? Rukmini Devi, when she was a young lady, a lot of brahmanas and lot of sages used to come and visit their family. Hmm? And what the then everybody, when then she used to serve them nicely, and when they ask what can I do for you, what can we, no, is there, do you want any benediction, anything like that, and she used to ask him, like, no, uh, can you tell me about Krishna? Because in the beginning stages, Narada Muni comes there and he glorifies Krishna in front of Rukmini Devi, and she becomes attracted to Krishna, and whoever she meets, she used to ask about Krishna, and she used to hear from them the glories of Krishna, and how Krishna is beautiful, how Krishna is destroying the evil demoniac people and protecting devotees. So, by listening about them constantly from the saintly people, she develops loving devotion towards Krishna. Then she finally sends a letter with a Brahmana on the day of her wedding. No, I, I, I wanted to be married by. I would like to marry you only. And if you don't come, I will end up my life. And I'm planning to, wait for hundreds of lifetimes to get you. And how this kind of favorable disposition develops in Rukmini Devi's mind is by constantly hearing about Krishna from the saintly devotees. So that is the easiest way. So when in the last verse, when Krishna says, just always think of me and all become my devotee and worship me and offer obeisance unto me. So that we can do with very much with feeling when we nicely hear about Krishna. So in order to help that, Krishna in this chapter, he is giving little bit of knowledge about him. So just give me 1 minute. I will be right back. So in the 10th chapter, uh, first 7 verses, he says about how we discuss about how knowing Krishna is unknowable, means nobody can know Krishna fully, no, because Krishna is unlimited. So Krishna says in the first verse, no, the more wonderful, he says, "Oh mighty Arjuna, because you are my dear friend, filled with love for your filled with no, filled with devotion towards me, for your benefit, I shall give you the supreme knowledge, the greater than what I speak in the earlier." Because what Krishna is going to speak now is a higher knowledge. Okay. So in the 10.2 words, no, he says, no, नमे विदुः सुरगना प्रभवं न महर्षया अह- अहमादर्शि देवानां Marchinam cha sarvasha. Krishna says, neither the hosts of demigods nor the great sages know my extraordinary origin or opulences. For in every respect, I am the source of demigods and sages. Hmm? Krishna is Sarva Karana Karanam, means he is the cause of all causes. So everything is emanating from me. So in that way, if you see the in that way, nobody knows clearly about the opulence of Krishna or the greatness of Krishna. Only Krishna can give us the knowledge about himself. So now in the further verses, Krishna says in the third verse, Yo mama Yo mam ajam anadim cha veti loka maheshwaram asammuda samarteshu sarva papa sarva papai pramuchyate. So Krishna says, he who knows me as unborn, as a beginningless, and as a supreme proprietor of the worlds, he only, with undeluded among men, is free from all sinful reactions of the world. Means just by knowing Krishna as the unborn, beginningless, and the supreme of all, hmm, that kind of person he becomes freed from all the sinful reactions. How does he become freed from all the sinful reactions? Just by knowing about Krishna. Because when we know about Krishna, then we develop loving tendency or devotion towards Krishna. Hmm. If somebody gives us some paper, some a piece of paper, and he says, and we don't know about it, and we have to keep it for some time and throw it off after some time. But if the same person says, this is, you know, uh, a check, and explain how to use the check, they check for $1 million, and how to use the check, you go and deposit in the bank, and you get this much amount of money, then our tendency to safe keep it in them, and we'll be conscious with them, and we'll be very careful in handling with it. No, in the same way, like no, if we get some glittering object, no, like and we don't know the value of it, and if somebody comes, it says, oh, this is a valuable diamond, is the most precious diamond of finest quality, and it's worth like some millions and millions of dollars, then the way which we deal with it will increase. So knowledge about particular thing determines how we deal with that object. In the same way, when we know about Krishna, the greatness of Krishna, then the way we react towards Krishna, the way we worship Krishna, the way we develop devotion favorably towards Krishna will increase. In that way, we constantly remember Krishna, and by remember Krishna, we get rid of all the sinful reactions. So, from the verses 4 to 6, Krishna, it explains Krishna is the origin of all qualities. Okay, so I will just read through these. The words I will not recite. So intelligence, knowledge, freedom from illusion, forgiveness, truthfulness, sense control, mind control, happiness, distress, birth and death, fear, death, fearlessness, non-violence, equanimity, satisfaction, austerity, charity, fame, and infamy. All these various qualities of living beings are created by me alone. So these qualities are all favorable qualities which will either help us be in the mode of goodness or help us favorably dispose to favorable help us improve favorably, develop a loving devotions towards Krishna. So it is said that no, the great seven great sages, four Kumaras and Manus come from Krishna, and be, born of Krishna's mind, they are absorbed in thinking of me, and all the living also descended from them. So is Krishna also says after reciting the verse 4 to 6, he says the progenitors, no, like the first created beings, they also come from him. Okay, so the verse number 7, it says, etam vibhutim yogam cha mama yo vetti tatvata so vikampena yogena yujyate natra samshaya. So one who is convinced of this opulence of my mystic power, vibhutis of mine, and engages in unalloyed devotion service to me is undoubtedly surrender. Engages in unalloyed devotion service undoubtedly means, like when we when we are convinced about Krishna's opulence, when we are convinced about, with our knowledge about Krishna, the supremacy of Krishna, then we'll develop unlimited. The highest summit of spiritual perfection is the knowledge of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Generally, people know that God is great, but they don't know how in detail how God is great. Mm. So that's why when we see the uh, when we know the opulence of Krishna, then we can say how God is great. Mm. So someone will say, "Oh, God is great," because whenever they see the something very spectacular or something like no very beautiful scenic view, they said, "Oh, God is great. He created such a great, such a nice scenic, such a nice beautiful nature." Mm. Or if somebody does not know anything, who knows? Then only God knows, because God is all knowing. So we acknowledge the greatness of God in our day-to-day life in some way or other. But here, more no more what you call, more with specific details in Bhagavad Gita, we'll discuss how it is. Okay. So now we'll move to the Chatushloki Bhagavad Gita, means verse number 8 to 11. Okay. So Krishna summarizes Bhagavad Gita in these four essential verses. It is called Chatushloki Bhagavad Gita. Describing bhakti is of the top bhakti of topmost devotees, and and the real nature of himself, which generates and nourishes the bhakti. Mm. So verse number 8. Aham sarvasya prabhavo mattah sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam bhuta bhava samanvitah. So he says, Krishna says, I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me, and and operates due to me. Those who know this engage in my devotion service. Such wise people lovingly worship me with their hearts. Hmm? So when we know everything, hmm, so that is coming is from Krishna, and he is the original proprietor. Everything emanates from him, and everything operates because of Krishna. Then we will be Krishna conscious no matter what. Maybe we are in good opulent position, we'll be Krishna conscious. When we are suffering also, we'll be Krishna conscious, because then that kind of person will say that all everything, both auspicious and inauspicious, everything is coming from Krishna, and everything has a purpose in our life. If something auspicious comes, it helps us to appreciate Krishna more and more. If something inauspicious comes, it helps us to take shelter of Krishna in a helpless manner. We are knowing that Krishna is the ultimate protector of us. Krishna is the best friend of us. Krishna is Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam. Means he is the well-wisher of all the living entities. Then when we know that everything is dependent on Krishna, then we in a helplessly, in a just like a child depends on the mother, we develop dependence. We develop, and we our faith toward Krishna will be unflinching. Our devotion to Krishna increase more and more. Mm. So in the ninth verse, when we see, mm, Krishna says, Machita madgata prana bodhayantah parasparam katayantascha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. So the first verse it says Sambandha Jnana. Sambandha means it says about the knowledge. How can I say? Because like for somebody is like no Sambandha Abhidaya Prayojana. These are the three main terms. Okay, Sambandha means to see what is our goal. mm, to see what we have to achieve. That is Sambandha means how something is related to us. That is Sambandha. Then this Sambandha gives knowledge of knowledge about our goal. Okay, what does it say? Krishna is the by in the Sambandha words he says Krishna is the cause of all causes. Krishna is the Krishna, he has personally created all the worlds, both spiritual and material world. So that gives a relationship between Krishna and us. And next, Abhidaya word. Abhidaya means how to achieve that goal. How to achieve that goal? Huh? Krishna says here, no? Machita Madgata Prana means how devotees will achieve him. Because with their hearts and minds absorbed in me, their lives fully devoted to my service, the pure devotees enlighten one another. Hmm? By conversing about me always and thus experiencing great satisfaction and bliss. So the devotees of Krishna with they actually glorify the qualities of Krishna and always converse about Krishna and they relish the discussing about Krishna. That way they remember Krishna more and more and they purify their minds and uh, intelligence and mind and intelligence. Mm. So, bhakti or devotion service unto Krishna gives satisfaction in the strength of both practice and perfection. Means sadhya and sadhana. Means the Krishna bhakti is sadhya. Sadhya means something which has to be achieved, and it is also sadhana. Means like for suppose there is a nice story. One beggar goes to king, and he says. King asks, "What do you want?" No, that beggar says, "Oh king, I never saw how gold look like. I would like to see gold." Mm. Oh, then king says, "Okay, there is no problem." So he called one of his soldier and tells them, show the person how gold looks like." Mm. So and that no, that soldier takes that I should not say beggar a person that person to a palace. As soon as he entered into a palace, he saw nice door, nice glittering door, and the hallways, uh, all the and the walls and all the staircases and the doors and the knobs and everything. And then finally he goes into a room, central room, and then he see a heaps of gold. And he see, oh, then that soldier shows, okay, see, this is the gold. Then that person that what we call a beggar says, oh, this is the gold. Then and after coming back and that person says, oh, this inside it is gold. Then same things, yeah, the doors are also made of same material. Then that soldier says, yes, door are also made of gold. Then then after coming back, the staircase is also made of gold. Yes, the staircase is also made of gold. And now in the front door also made of gold. So because until we know what is how the goal look like, we can never appreciate it. The same way, the process of bhakti, right from the beginning itself, it is the sweet. Mm. So what is the ultimate thing that we can achieve through the process of bhakti is more and more bhakti. Means like by engaging in devotional loving devotion towards Krishna. mm, Devotion means service, love means service, devotion means love means service. How we express our love to somebody who we love, see, I'm sorry, how we express our love to our beloved by performing some loving relationship. If we love somebody, if mother loves the child, actually it is said according to scriptures, mother's love for the child is the only purest, unmotivated, unselfish love. So how mother expresses love towards the child by serving, by nicely feeding the child and nicely taking care of, and always looking for the child and always being conscious of the child, like that. So bhakti is also in the same process. No, so then nobody pays any what do you call, any salary for the mother for taking care of child. Mother takes care of the child for free because she loves to do that, because she loves that child and she wants to do that service, no? And even the child starts crying in the night 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock, mother wakes up and takes care of the child, no? And she's always ready to do any sacrifice for their child, because it is due to unconditional unmotivated love. And mother doesn't expect, okay, this child has to do that for that thing for me, then only I will able to I will do no, I will love this child. It's not like that. Mother has unconditional love towards her child. So in the same way, mm, when we love towards Krishna, we tend to serve Krishna either by hearing, either by Shravanam Kirtanam, by chanting or glorifying Krishna, or Shravanam Kirtanam Archanam means either worshipping Krishna, deity form of Krishna, and paying obeisance as Vandanam. Dasya means doing some menial service that is related to Krishna, means either cleaning the temple or assisting cleaning is serving the devotees of Krishna. Sakyam means being friendly towards Krishna. Atma Nivedana means being surrendered to Krishna. So these are the 9 processes in which we can perform bhakti towards Krishna. And this bhakti process is such that both from the beginning and the end will be able to release. And we don't have to aspire like in order to achieve perfection, some realization should come, some I should be able to do some mystic things like that. It's not like that. Bhakti is not so cheap. It is not something material. It is something spiritual, means you just feel and you love, and you will see the transformation of our heart, and you will see the transformation of our consciousness. Our anxieties will go away, our negativity will go away, our loneliness will go away, and our a fully satisfied and fully what you call secured state. Even though like if you see some devotees, even though they don't have anything, they are fully satisfied, no? If you see outside world, people are working 24 hours a day to accumulate so that they can be happy. But the devotees of Krishna are happy with bare minimums, no, whatever is required for their sustenance, and they are happy serving and chanting and uh, taking Krishna Prasad. So that is the power of bhakti, because it can give the ultimate perfection of our life, ultimate meaning to our life, and also not only this life, it can give ultimate destination also. Mm. So that's why Krishna says this is the abhidaya, means this is the both sadhya and sadhana, means this is the means and this is also the goal. So if a Krishna also next says, mm, Krishna gives the guidance, like for somebody to engage in bhakti, somebody to perform bhakti, what they have to do, like for them Krishna says, tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogantam yena mam upayanti te. So in the verse number 10, Krishna says, those who are constantly engaged in serving me with love and devotion, I give them the necessary understanding by which they can come to me. Mm. So unless it is to be known that unless Krishna's mercy, Krishna is pleased with us, we cannot become devotees of Krishna, because this process of bhakti is full of loving reciprocation, because full of what you call, unless we have a nice favorable disposition towards that person, you cannot do bhakti, no? So like if among the lover and beloved, both of them have to reciprocate each other. Mm. So if lover loves the beloved and beloved hates the lover, then relationship cannot be established. Mm. So when we want to love Krishna, mm, means we have to please Krishna, then Krishna will be easily pleased because he is Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam. And when Krishna starts reciprocating with us, our love towards Krishna increases more and more and more, and it will become stronger and stronger every day. Mm. So for that we need to have some intelligence, what to do and what not to do, and how to act so that it will please Krishna. It will be more pleasing to Krishna, and when Krishna is pleased, then our devotion will increase more and more, and our his reciprocation from Krishna also increase more and more. That way we develop more and more strong in our devotion. So the Buddha Yoga is the process by which one gets the enlightenment of material world. The ultimate goal of progress is Krishna. To achieve this goal, to achieve this goal, the path is slowly but progressively traversed. When a person knows the goal of life is when a person knows the goal of life but is addicted to the fruitive activities, but he is acting in karma yoga. When he knows the goal of life is Krishna, he takes pleasure in mental speculation to understand Krishna. He is acting in Jnana Yoga. And when he knows the goal and seeks Krishna completely in Krishna conscious and devotion service, he is acting in Bhakti Yoga or Buddhi Yoga, which is the complete yoga. So this complete yoga is the highest perfection stage. Okay. So we previously also discussed it, right? Hmm? We use no in the initial days we use karma or activity service, and then knowledge, and then finally loving devotional service towards Krishna. So this loving devotional service towards Krishna is bhakti. Okay. And bhakti yoga is the ultimate yoga. And then if some pitfalls happen during our process of bhakti, when we are performing devotional service to Krishna, if we are out of ignorance or out of of something, some we are not able to, even though we understand the philosophy of Krishna, we are not able to engage our mind, and we are not able to control our senses. Then what will happen? Okay. Then Krishna says how he mercifully destroys ignorance. Okay. Tesham evanukamparta maha महामज्ञानजं तमा नाश नाशयन् नाशयामि आत्मभावोऽस्तु ज्ञानदीपेन भासिता. So for them, in order to help them, Krishna says, to show them special mercy, I, dwelling in the hearts, destroy the darkness born of ignorance with shining lamp of knowledge. Okay, because Krishna is also sitting in the heart, right? We already discussed the three features of Bhagavan. It is Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. In the form of Brahman, Krishna is spread throughout the spiritual and material worlds. In the form of Paramatma, he is residing in the hearts of every living entity. And in the form of Bhagavan, he is he is situated in his abode. Mm. So in the form of Krishna, in the form of his uh, in the form of Paramatma, he is sitting within our heart. So he can destroy all the ignorance. So that's how Krishna protects his devotees by destroying their ignorance, and they are showing what is to be done and what not to be done, what is the ultimate benefit for what is beneficial and what is not beneficial, no, like that. No? So to like no to show small example, no, even animals have the knowledge. How? Because if you see animals, even the baby animal also knows what to eat and what not to eat. Now, like a baby cow is there. huh? She knows it will only eat grass, but it doesn't eat something, no, which is like a flesh or meat or something like that. But if a baby lion is there, it will only eat meat. It will not eat on the eat something, and this this knowledge will is actually given by Krishna himself, after like if somebody so this basic knowledge is, as a Paramatma, he reveals it to every living entity. But the higher and higher in knowledge. Okay, sorry. So what I was saying. So yeah, Krishna gives that basic knowledge to all the animals also. But when it comes to higher and higher knowledge, how to perform bhakti and how to satisfy the supreme personality of God, that kind of knowledge he actually gives to the devotees who are in favorable towards 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 him in bhakti. So after hearing that, Arjuna, he accepts the supreme position of Krishna in the next few verses, and he says about greatness of Krishna, because until this point of time Arjuna was listening to Krishna, and Arjuna knows about the greatness of Krishna little bit, but now he will acknowledge it. So when we are reading Bhagavad Gita, or when we are going through knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, we have to keep ourselves in the position of Arjuna, and we have to deeply connect with what Arjuna is asking or what Krishna is saying. Then only we will be able to relish anything. Even if you read some scriptures like Srimad Bhagavatam, or anything like that, we have to actually keep ourselves in the characters of that devotee. Just like when we see the movies, we identify ourselves with the characters of the movies, right? That's how some some persons, they actually get so much emotional. They cry, they laugh, because we are identifying ourselves in that with that characters. In the same way, when we are reading Bhagavad Gita, we have to keep ourselves in that position of Arjuna, or in the position of the character in which the devotees are involved. Okay. So now what Krishna says? Krishna says, sorry, Arjuna says, after hearing all these pastimes about Krishna, sorry, all these instructions from Krishna, Arjuna uvacha param brahma param dhama pavitram paramam bhavan purusham shashvatam divyam adi devam adi dev adi dev sorry purusham shashvatam divyam adi devam ajam vibhum. So Arjuna says, you are the supreme personality of Godhead, the ultimate abode, the purest and the absolute truth. You are the eternal personality, transcendental, the original Lord, unborn and the greatest. So this realization, that's what Krishna says. When a person has this realization, then they will not look for anything but Krishna. And Arjuna says, all the sages, such as Narada, Ashita, Devala, Vyasa, confirm this truth. You now and about you, and now you yourself are declaring. Arjuna is saying, okay, you are saying about yourself, no, and how can I trust you? Because Arjuna says now, even Narada, Asita, Deva, Vyasa, these are like like Mahajanas, means the greatest personalities. Right now, if somebody says some fact, some truth, then we double check, or we'll ask what is the reference, who else is agreeing with this, so now Arjuna is saying, actually before you saying this, uh, Narada, Asita, Devala and Vyasa, these are the greatest sages of all the time. They actually confirms this. And like if somebody is there, if we have a friend, if we you and me have a friend, and we are daily dealing with him, and suddenly greatest personalities like or scientists or great philosophers, they comes and say, no, you see about your friend is a supreme personality of Godhead, and he says that then we'll say, oh, really? My friend is Supreme Personality of Godhead. We make fun of it and we just forget about it. But when it comes to when it comes to our experience, how great our friend is, how he knows everything, how he can do anything. No, he can even bring the dead persons right from the abode of Yama, and he can also do miraculous things. Then we'll once when a situation comes, no, when a situation like Arjuna for situation for Arjuna comes, no, Arjuna is in a battlefield right now and he's full of doubts and full of questions and totally confused what to do. And in that time when our friend gives the help, then the type of appreciation you show towards our friend will be true from the core of our heart. So that's what Arjuna is doing now, because now Arjuna is appreciating Krishna. You are the supreme personality of Godhead. Now I realize, because I already heard from all these sages, Narada, Asita, Devala, and Vyasa. Now they come and they worship you in front of me, and I was thinking you and me of same age, and you are my friend, and my. But even though they are worshiping, I was not able to realize your greatness. Now I realize who you really are. That's what Krishna is saying. So, and Arjuna says afterwards, no, I totally accept as truth all that you have told to me. Neither the demigods nor demons can understand you. And by your internal potency, O Supreme Person, Purushottama, origin of all, Lord of all beings, God of gods, and Lord of universe. No? The 15th verse. What does it say? स्वयमेवात्मनात्मानं वेत्तं तत्त्वा पुरुषोत्तम भूतभावन भूतेश देवदेवा जगत्पते. Hmm? So he is Jagatpati, he is Devadeva, he is the god of all gods. So he is Krishna, Arjuna is glorifying them. Okay, and Arjuna requests, no, please tell me more of your divine opulences, by which you pervade this entire three worlds. And then, how shall I constantly think of you, know you, and remember you? In what forms, and in in what forms do you manifest? So, when Arjuna asks about this, then Krishna he also expresses that, no, like when teacher is something saying something, we should say, okay, please tell more and more. Then only the teacher will have the mood to give more and more knowledge to the disciple. But if the disciples are not, oh, that is enough, whatever you have said till now, we are getting late, no, we are, then teacher will cut down the matter and then say, okay, give it precisely and go, chalo, okay, okay, done. He'll do that. So but Arjuna is saying, I'm not satiated in hearing about you, O Janardana. Please describe in details your mystic power, vibhutis, and bhakti yoga. The more I hear, the more I wanted to taste the nectar of your words. That's how we have to have that, no, conversation with Guru. No, we have to be always, in a requesting manner. Then Krishna goes and says how he is the supreme person. He describes about various vibhutis. No? And Krishna Arjuna, when Krishna asks and Krishna starts explaining about his opulences, Krishna says, I shall now, no, my opulences. Krishna, when Krishna asks to describe the opulences, sorry, Arjuna asks to describe about the opulences. Krishna says, my opulences are limitless. No? So I will tell you only the prominent ones. No? Ones of my splendorous manifestations. So because Krishna is unlimited, has opulences, he cannot. Krishna is saying, I myself cannot say about my opulences. What about others? So, but I will say my predominant ones. No? And Krishna says, I am the super soul in the hearts of all the living entities. I am the beginning, I am the middle, and I am the end. Creation, maintenance, and destruction of all the living beings. No? And describe, no, various prominent manifestations which are known to Arjuna at that point of time. Okay. Now, for us to say, what is the greatest thing that you have seen in life, then we'll say, okay, I have seen Eiffel Tower, or seven wonders of the world, Great Wall of China, or like that kind of thing that we mention. Hmm? But in that point of time, in the Arjuna's time, with the knowledge of Arjuna, what Arjuna can correlate, that in that way Krishna gives that knowledge. No? Krishna says, among the Adityas, I am Vishnu. Krishna, I am the luminaries, I am the sun. I am the Maruts, I am Marichi. I am the stars, I am moon. I am among the Vedas, I am Samaveda. I am the demigods, I am Indra. I am the Rudras, I am Shankara. I am the priests, I am Bruhaspati. I am the among the great sages, Bru. Among the trees, Banin. So is a list of until the verse number 39. Okay, this list goes. Okay, and you can read all these things. These are the opulences that Krishna means. Whatever is spectacular, whatever is what do you call most prominent in any field, that is due to the power of Krishna. If you remember, if you see most beautiful person or most strength, like strongest person or most intelligent person, you should understand it is there is Krishna's power behind that person. So when we know that everything great in this world is due to the mercy, due to the opulence of, due to the grace of Krishna, then we will not become envious, and we will correlate, oh, this person has the grace of Krishna. The power of Krishna is coming through this person. Now if a man is a beautiful woman, then he will think, oh, Krishna has bestowed this such a beauty to this women. This is the beauty of Krishna. Uh, when women say a lot wealth or strong, or any person, anybody, or we can in man we can see that no strong, wealth, wisdom, no, or any person. Then we say, oh, this is the power of Krishna coming through this person. So we should never be, will never be envious of anybody, or will never be, no, there is some kind of negativity. Due to negativity, we develop some kind of enviousness towards any person who is knowledgeable, who is beautiful, who is famous, or something like that. But when we see that this is the power of Krishna, and Krishna has bestowed this person that power, then we won't be envious of that. Means when we become envious of anything in this world, anything in this world or any world, we are actually becoming envious of Krishna's power. Means we are indirectly becoming envious of Krishna. That's what we have to understand. So, but if we appreciate everything, and if you appreciate everything as the energy of Krishna, yeah, and if we are thinking that Krishna is the benefactor, Krishna has given everybody what they deserve, and what they can handle, mm, then we'll be always in a favorable disposition toward Krishna. In that way, we can easily remember Krishna in our day-to-day life, and then become Krishna conscious more and more. And then by remembering Krishna, we will destroy all our sinful reactions, and then we become perfect. And then in the verse number 42, Krishna says, 41, 42 are recite last two verses. यद् यद् विभूति मत्सत्वं श्रीमद्दूर्जितमेव वा तद्दत् एवानुगच्छत्वं मम तेजोंश संभवम्. So in this verse, Krishna says, a spark of Krishna, a spark of Krishna's splendor. Okay, know that all. So when after listing all the things, know about all the greatest things in the greatest in the creation, Krishna says, know that all the majestic, beautiful, powerful creations of the past, present, and future spring from me, but a fragment of my splendor. Whatever the greatest that we can experience in this world is only a infinitesimal part of Krishna's splendor. Means we can understand how great Krishna is. Okay, so that is, and when we in the next word he says, अथवा बहुनैत अथवा बहुनैतेन किं ज्ञातेन तव अर्जुन विश विष्टभ्यः मिदं कृत्स्यं मे ekatmena sthito jagat. Krishna says, but what is the need of all this detailed knowledge? With single fragment of myself, I pervade and support entire universe. He says, Krishna is saying after listing all, this Mount Meru or Bruhaspati or Indra and everything, listing all these things, says, what is all these useless things? With a single fragment of my energy, I pervade all these things. Means it is like a not even 0.1% of my splendor. And but for the sake of you, I'm giving this list, but it's not of no use in my opinion. So that's what Krishna's greatness is. So only thing that we can understand Krishna is that we can never understand Krishna. That is the only fact. So what is the only thing that we can understand about Krishna is that we can never completely know about Krishna. So when we know that, we just surrender to Krishna, because a child does not want to know, father, how much bank balance you have, how much land you have, how much property you have, how many cars you have. A child does not know. A child just simply dependent on father. No, father, you whatever you give me, I'm your son, and I just be in loving relationship towards you. That's it. And father knows what to give to this child, and child does not have to know how much bank balance I have, how much money I can spend, how much money you cannot spend. So these all details are not required for the child. Child simply take the shelter of the father, and father will take care of the child. So in the same way, devotee simply take shelter of Krishna, and whatever is required for that devotee's upliftment, either spiritually, materially, or no, or emotionally, Krishna will give accordingly, because Krishna is always favorably disposed, favorably dis, always favorable towards his devotees. So that is the essence of this chapter. You have any questions or comments, you can take here. Hare Krishna. I hope you are able to follow, right?
Yes, ji. Correct.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, I said thank you, Prabhu.
Oh, okay, sure.
Hare
If
Krishna.
you have any questions, anybody have any questions? Hare Krishna. Okay, we'll end it here. Grandhara Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Thank you all very much for joining. I'll close it.
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna,
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.